Yesterday evening and during the noon hour, I had the opportunity of talking with some of the missionaries from Africa, Central and South America. We have them here on the platform. They have interesting information from their home territory, and we thought we'd interview them, let you hear some of the good news from their part of the world. First of all, I'd like to talk with Brother and Sister West, who are from Venezuela. Brother West, how long have you and Sister West been in Venezuela?
We've been there about 20 years.
About 21 years?
About 21 years.
Uh-huh. During that period of time, I suppose that you've seen the work progressing considerably.
Very much so, because when we arrived in Venezuela in 1952, there were only 600 or 700 publishers. Now we have 9,000.
Uh-huh. I guess that keeps you quite busy too, Sister West, taking care of interest in the territory.
Yes, we never have any trouble giving our sermons down there, and we're kept very busy conducting Bible studies also.
What attitude do people show? Are a lot of people showing an interest in the truth in your territory there?
Well, I might say that I work in a sort of a middle-class territory, and they're sort of materialistic, but we have more success with those that live on the hills and that are of a poorer class, but still, I always find many that are interested.
Uh-huh. In other words, not everybody is interested in the truth, even in Venezuela.
No, that's true. They're very interested in materialism.
But Brother West, your activity is centered more around the missionary home, right?
Well, at the present time, I work in the branch office in the dispatchment of literature. And I've spent many years traveling around Venezuela in the circuit work, so I've seen the work grow up from its infancy until the present time.
Uh-huh. How would you say that your time in that 21 years has been enjoyed? Have you and Sister West enjoyed yourselves in those 21 years, or would you change things if you had to?
Well, I wouldn't change with anyone. It's gone very fast. Well, the fact is, when I come home looking for my friends, I look for the young ones instead of the older ones because I don't realize so many years have passed.
Well, I would like to show you how I enjoy my territory, and certainly have no desire to come back here to come back to visit, of course, but not to stay, because about 5 years ago, we had to come back to take care of my father-in-law. We were here for about a little over 2 years, and I cried all those 2 years. I was so unhappy, so that shows that I like Venezuela very much.
Well, fine. That shows real love for the territory. Did you have any further thoughts on your territory there, Brother West?
Well, as far as the work is concerned, it's very enjoyable. The people are very nice to meet. It's very encouraging to see so many young people today taking in the pioneer work so that someday they can maybe serve in under some similar circumstance.
All right, fine. I know that the brothers have enjoyed hearing a report from Venezuela. Now then, we also have Brother and Sister Watson from Colombia. Brother Watson, how did you and Sister Watson come to go to Colombia?
We attended a district assembly here in Houston in 1957. In that assembly, they stressed in a program that all those that could go to a foreign country and serve where the need is great. There'd be a great need in certain countries in South America, and they named over Colombia as the top of the list. So I and my wife talked it over, and we decided that there's nothing to keep us from going. So we arranged our affairs and left in '58 to Colombia, and we stopped by the branch, and they signed us to Cali, Colombia. At that time, there was only about 25 publishers in the congregation, about around 50 to 60 attending the meetings. But now there's 8 congregations with this year there's 817 publishers, quite an increase in 14 years. Would you like to give me some rundown on Colombia? When you went to Colombia, there's less than 1,000 publishers in all Colombia. Today, there's 10,040 publishers in Colombia.
So you went to Colombia because you wanted to go serve where the need is great, and I couldn't understand everything you related there, Brother Watson. I may ask you this question, maybe you answered it, but there was a rather unusual blessing that came to you and Sister Watson as a result of your going there just to serve where the need is great. Did you answer that, or would you like to tell us what that blessing was?
We went over there as publishers, but the branch servant wanted to sign us up right away as regular pioneers. We served in that capacity about 3 years and tried to learn the language at the same time, which was quite a problem. But they decided we had enough knowledge after 3 years to be special pioneers. They sent us to Virgin Territory, a city that had never been worked in. We stayed there 2.5 years, and then the branch wrote us and wanted to know if we would accept assignment as missionaries in a missionary home. We wrote back that we would. So the branch wrote Brooklyn, and they sent us a form to fill out to be missionaries. We sent that back, and they wrote back and said they accepted us as missionaries, and our assignment would be in Medellin, Colombia. So we went there to a missionary home from the assignment in Ibagué, where we were.
So you went there to serve where the need is great, and you wound up being missionaries without apparently going to Gilead. Sister Watson, what did you think about becoming a missionary? Was that a surprise to you?
It was a surprise that we hadn't expected, but it certainly has been a wonderful blessing, and we know that Jehovah has really blessed us for going and serve where the need is great.
Yes, that's a rather unusual experience, and I know many of the brothers don't know that some have become missionaries and are now part of the missionary home and are actually not Gilead graduates, and that shows that there's a blessing in store for those who serve where the need is great. Well, thank you, Brother and Sister Watson. Now then, we also have Sister Evelyn Hill, who is from El Salvador. Sister Hill, how long have you been a missionary in El Salvador?
I've been a missionary 27 years.
27 years. 27 years is a rather long time, Sister Hill. I imagine that there are some little babies that have been born since you went to El Salvador that now have become missionaries themselves. Is that right?
That's right.
Did you expect that when you went to El Salvador?
No, I didn't.
You didn't know you'd be there 27 years that side of Armageddon, did you?
I surely didn't. If they'd have told me I was going to be there 27 years when I went, I probably wouldn't have gone. But they've gone by so fast, and it has been such a blessing that I haven't even realized it.
But now then, since you look back over it, would you really trade those 27 years for anything else?
Yes. Mm-hmm. When we first went to Salvador, there were about 18 publishers, and of course now we have nearly 3,000.
I asked you the question, would you exchange the time you've spent in El Salvador for anything else if you had it to do over?
No, I wouldn't.
I knew you didn't mean yes when I asked that question. That's why I wanted the answer again. So how has the work progressed in El Salvador since you went there, Sister Hill?
Well, we now have 3,000 publishers.
How many congregations did you have when you went to El Salvador? How many congregations did you have?
I'm not sure. In San Salvador, we have 18 now in the capital.
When you went to El Salvador, how many?
When I went, well, there was just one.
Just one. And how many now? How many now?
How many now? In the capital alone, there are 18. I don't know how many there are in the whole country.
So you too have seen a lot of expansion of Jehovah's work in El Salvador.
We surely have. And it surely has been a blessing to see how the work has grown.
Well, thank you, Sister Hill. we have Brother and Sister James Hockett from another part of the world. They're here from Kenya, Africa. Now, most of us are acquainted with the fact that the work has recently been banned in Kenya. So, Brother Hockett, perhaps you could fill us in on just what's going on there, how the brothers are faring under the ban.
Well, they're doing very well. The ban has been on now for 2 months, but there has been no persecution of any of the brothers. The missionaries have not been deported. We're still in the country and still carrying on the activity at the branch office.
How is the work principally being carried on as far as meetings are concerned?
Well, as soon as the ban was announced over the radio, then the brothers, right away, the elders in the congregation started meeting together to divide the congregation into small groups based on the book study arrangement. Even though we had, like in particular congregation I was in, there were 4 book studies, but even these were too large, so we broke them down into 6 groups. And we hold all the meetings in each group. So each book study conductor is also in charge of the service meeting, the ministry school, watchtower study, and the book study.
Would you say that they come up rather often on the program in a situation like that?
Well, now they're having a talk almost every week. So the brothers will have to study a little harder now, and they will mature very quickly under this arrangement.
Are the brothers willing to accept assignments often like that, or do they complain?
Oh, no, there's no complaint. In fact, they're very happy that they can have this privilege.
Perhaps we could get a comment from Sister Hockett as to the activity. Your work has to be carried on principally through what means, Sister Hockett?
Well, Jim is working in the branch, and I'm in the field. So since the ban, we haven't been able to do much house-to-house work. And so I'm just concentrating on my back calls and Bible studies because we didn't want to do anything that would jeopardize our chances of getting back into the country. So when we get back, if we get back, then I'll be able to stick out my neck a little bit more and perhaps do some more house-to-house work.
Now, even though the work is under ban, what attitude do the people generally show?
Well, the people in general, I would say, are sympathetic towards the brothers. They're astonished that they should have been banned because there's been no big issue to bring it about. And so very many of them are willing to listen and ask questions, and it's given a good opportunity for a witness.
So what kind of progress then have you noticed, your Brother Hockett, in the work in Kenya since you've been there?
Well, when I went to Kenya, we were still trying to make 1,000 publishers, and so now we're over 1,000. Our peak was about 1,300, and we had 3,000 attend the memorial. And even since the ban, we had last month in May, there were over 1,000 publishers reporting, and all of the special pioneers met their quota or exceeded 150 hours. One of the special pioneers got 183 hours working under ban conditions, but it just shows that the local authorities in many of the villages are not against us, and so they do not bother the brothers at all.
So really, even though the work is under ban, the brothers are able to continue their preaching work and are not allowing this to frighten them or cause them to stop their work, right?
That's right. They've taken it very well. In fact, most of the brothers have said, well, if we weren't banned, then we wouldn't think we had the truth, because they said this is just a sign that we have the truth and have Jehovah's blessings. And so they're continuing to be very active, and we've had over 15 baptized since the ban.
All right, fine. Thank you, Brother and Sister Hockett. Now we also have Brother and Sister Ferguson and their son Brian, and they are from Zambia, Africa. Brother Ferguson, how long have you been in Zambia?
Just on 27 years.
27 years. You were in which class of Gilead?
Gilead's 8th class.
The 8th class. So you too have seen some youngsters born and become very active in serving Jehovah as adults since you took up the missionary work, right?
Oh, yes, that's very true.
In fact, I think that's happened in your family, hasn't it?
Well, my son's now in the full-time work in Bethel, and we raised him down there, so I've seen that happen.
Let's see. You told me that you're doing your own printing of some of the publications in Zambia, correct?
Yes, we have started up our printery on March the 1st. Maybe my son could tell you what we're printing there, because he's our printer.
All right. Brian, you have a number of helpers assisting you in the printing work, I suppose. Is that so?
We only have one printing press, so there's only one operator.
And the one operator is who?
I'm the operator of the printing press, and we have another brother who operates the guillotine.
Operates the guillotine. In that part of the world, you don't want to talk too much about a guillotine, I suppose, do you? But what publications are you printing?
We print all the kingdom ministries for Zambia in 3 languages, Chibemba, Chinyanja, and Solozi. That's a total of 60,000 kingdom ministries, and we do the written reviews in 3 languages, and that's a total of 45,000 written reviews.
Uh-huh. Brother and Sister Ferguson went down there as Gilead students and missionaries. Sister Ferguson is kept rather busy supplying them with a lot of their material needs, so that they're able to use their time in the printing work. Sister Ferguson, have you had some interesting experiences in talking to people? Do you find that the people are willing to listen to you there in Zambia?
Yes. Of course, we cannot go from house to house in Zambia because the government has prohibited this work. But we are not prohibited from preaching. So we can do our back calls, our Bible studies, and we can do informal witnessing. So this is the way we do our witnessing work there.
Uh-huh. Brother Ferguson, I understand you had something to do with organizing or working with the organizing of the relief program for the brothers in Malawi. Maybe you could tell us about that.
Well, of course, there was a wonderful response to the condition in Malawi from our brothers in South Africa, and so there were several heavy vehicle loads of foodstuffs and tents that were shipped up from South Africa and also from the branch office area in Zambia. So it was my privilege to go down to the Rhodesian border, which of course has since been closed into Zambia, but at that time we were able to organize the relief provisions from South Africa through into Zambia and out to the camp at Sindamasali.
Now, were you actually yourself able to go over into Malawi?
No, I didn't go there because it's not too wise to make my presence very prominent there, so I was more or less behind the scenes. I was able to talk to some brothers from Malawi who came into Zambia, and I heard some of the reports from them.
Uh-huh. And what is the spiritual condition from your talking to these of the brothers there in Malawi?
Oh, the brothers were not downhearted at all. But of course their privations and their conditions in our eyes are very tragic. However, they accept all this as part of their Christian inheritance. They speak as if they would never have thought of taking any other course, and they have certainly accepted all this persecution and opposition with a very fine Christian spirit. I don't think there's any doubt in the minds of certainly the ones I spoke to that they're determined to maintain their faithfulness in spite of what anything these political dictators might do to them.
Well, fine. I know that the brothers have enjoyed very much hearing the good news from the lands that you brothers and sisters represent, and you can tell from their comments that they love their assignment, they're doing what they can to stay there, and they're setting a fine example, and I know that we've appreciated hearing the reports from these countries.